first, obviously, you need to write about what you're passionate about, or make yourself passionate about it if you have a commission. And yeah, think about it, read as much as you can, write about it, meditate on the subject, go for strolls and think about different ways to approach it. And then I think it's really good to work out what your angle is, what your approach is, because there's so many different ways into what is your angle and who is your audience? Who are you writing it for? Are you writing it for, really define why you're writing it and who for? That's really important, and it will help when you're writing. And then set deadlines upon deadlines. I can't get out of bed in the morning without a deadline. It's really, really helpful, because you can write a book for a million years, but you're like, it's due here. You need to panic not the week before it's due. You need to panic 6 months before it's due, and set your deadlines and get to work. So either set a deadline for, okay, I need to write 1,000 words a day. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to spend a month. This is the month that I'm going to edit afterwards. But now I'm just going to get it through it, 1,000 words a day. Or if that's not the way you work, you can say 3-4 days a week, or however long it is, I'm going to work from 1 o'clock till 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm at my desk and I'm writing. Whether I'm writing 1 word or 10 words, they're my office hours. And then at 6 o'clock, I stop. I do an hour of sport. I do dinner and blah, blah, blah. And then at night, I'm going to continue researching the book, but not writing. At nighttime, I'm going to watch documentaries about the subject. I'm going to explore it in different ways. So I think it's really nice to be really structure your workload. That helps. And once you've got that deadline, then you don't stress about it, because if you sit at your desk and if you get your 1,000 words and all this, will it be the best book you've ever written? Maybe, maybe not, but it will be written. You structure into your schedule the month, or depends how long the work is, that you revisit it and you refine it. And you need to put that also. It takes a lot longer than you think. You can go through a passage so many times, you find the poetry of it, like it's not flowing. And then also it's really nice at the end to read it out loud. That's a really good thing to do, to see if it flows, to see where it's a little bit clunky. That's a really nice thing. I like, because I've got a theatre background, I like to have like a poetry or something, to have a book that's very readable.
You've stayed with the same publisher, so you must be very happy with them. Has that been helpful?
Yeah, well, the first one was a commission, and then they approached me both times. So I'm flattered that they wanted me to do another one. So that's really nice. They're really lovely people, really enthusiastic, and yes, and I've got the next one commissioned, so that's really nice also.
Is the marketing for these books difficult?
The other reason why I was so happy with those reviews is I was a little worried that because it's got the word guide in it, I'm like, because people aren't literally going to Paris right now, are people going to be turned off because it's called a guide to Paris? But there's a whole series. They've got a whole city guides, and it's called Guide to something, Guide to. And so that's the name of the book. So that, in that aspect, I was worried about the marketing, but it seems that people, once they read it, they realize that it's not just for people who are traveling physically. It's you can learn about Paris and be inspired from home. So that's good, and the reviews are going to help a lot.
Yeah.
And then it's work. White Owl are good at getting it everywhere, so you can get the book all around the globe. And you can get it from independent bookshops if you prefer to buy that way. You can get it off Amazon, of course. You can get it from lots of different. You can get it direct from the publisher. I can do signed copies and send them. So there's lots of different ways to get the book. You can have it in physical forms, or you can also have it. They do ebooks and Kindle and all that. So they're very good at getting it to all platforms. So White Owl do a really good job at that.
Okay.
And then also people like you who have found out about the book and want to interview, that's a huge help.
In fact, I noticed I listened to one of your podcasts that was maybe 3 weeks ago that you did with someone. The same thing. It was a really good podcast and lots of information in those things in the podcast.
Yeah, Lulabelle's Franco Files. Yeah, she's a wonderful Australian woman who does a Franco Files podcast and interviews people to inspire people about Paris. French people and other people like me that live in Paris and have things to say about it, to inspire people to travel and to engage with French culture without being there. And she also shares a recipe each time. So I'll put a link on that web page also, so people can listen to that. For people not to feel like they need to be planning a trip to Paris to be inspired by Paris. I always think that recently we think, oh, travel is because I want to know about this place because I'm going to go there and I want to know where to stay, where to eat, all that kind of stuff. That's all very valid. But we have to think about travel journalism in the past was us listening to a story about something and being inspired by it and traveling through the words and the photos and the stories told. So I think it's a very valid way of traveling without needing to go to a place. You can still be inspired by the place through words and pictures.
I have learned so much in this process of writing the book, and I have lots of advice for new writers. I'll try to keep it brief. One of the main things I think when you're writing a book is to figure out who your target audience is. You know, who are going to be your readers. It helps keep focused, that you kind of have an idea of who it is that's reading, and try to please that one reader. You know, it's because you cannot please everybody. And so that helped me keep focused, and it also helped me, not everybody's going to love your book. And so when people have been critical of it, I thought, well, they're just not part of my target audience. You know, they're not the right person reading my book. And that has really helped kind of let the negativity go. And there hasn't been very much at all, but it's hard to hear sometimes. And so if you just keep it, this is who I want to reach. And then it's a lot easier to keep it there. So when I was writing my book, I decided I wanted to write to people who were interested in Alaska. And so that's pretty broad. I kind of got a picture of my mind of somebody in Texas who had not been here before, so I could know how much to tell. Because if I was writing just to Alaskans, there would be a lot of detail that I would have left out. So it's helpful to know how much detail to include and just keep it focused.
I think one thing you did that I noticed that was really interesting is when you made the video for us, you put it on Facebook and asked people for how to make it better and what they thought. And I think that interaction is very useful.
Oh, well, Facebook has been my friend from the very beginning because, like I said earlier, I wanted to see if writing a book was really something that I could do. Yes, a lot of times friends and family will, can tell you, hey, you need to do this, and encourage and kind of get you out there when you're not ready. And so Facebook helped me see that my stories were interesting to people. And it has been a huge tool. When I was putting my book together, I put my book cover out there and gave people, hey, which book cover do you like the best? And got lots of feedback and very specific feedback. I don't like that branch right there. I don't like the font, or you need to move it up. And so it was like just having a huge resource of getting people's opinion before I spent the money and had the final product. So yeah, it has been very helpful. And my Facebook page has also kind of been a continuation of the book. So even though I don't have a book 2 out yet, people continue to follow our journey. So it has been really fun, and it is interactive. So whereas a book, you do all of it and you put it out, and it might take a little while before you get the feedback. Facebook is immediate feedback. So I love it. I love the interaction. And even though I live out here in remote Alaska, I feel more connected to people than I think I ever have in my life. I mean, I have met people from all over the world. It's really been fun. I have about 10,000 followers. So that's been exciting. And sometimes it's a little overwhelming. I think, gosh, a lot of people hear about our life, but it's been fun. And I think people have, especially this last year, have enjoyed seeing just the peaceful pictures of, just something different, because it's been an eventful year for everybody. And so seeing a picture of a moose or hearing about a snow machine ride, it's something completely different. And I think people have really enjoyed it. And I've enjoyed sharing it. I enjoy the interaction with people.
Stop reading about how you can never do it. There's 3 or 4 things when you go into a field that is, quote, glamorous. Most of your advice is forget it. And when I'll tell you something funny, when I was actually successful, a bunch of like snobbish people in my life, like, you're so stupid. If you can do it, I'll sell millions. Or how the hell did you do it? You know, you're nothing. You're nobody. I know you. You're no Ernest Hemingway. You're no James. So you get weird reactions from people. Ignore all of it. Just ignore it. So one, the most important thing is write a fantastic book. Word of mouth will create a following, believe me. Learn to write creatively. So I'm a lobbyist guy. If you called me and said, tell me what happened on a situation, I'll say, on this day, President Biden signed this, and it'll be law on May 1st. Creative writing is the opposite of that. Tell the story, tell it well, make it interesting, make me want to turn the next page. Learn to write creatively, get beta readers, rewrite, edit, and make sure you find your voice. And if you can find your voice, I'm reading a book right now called The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna, and it's about a family that went through the Dust Bowl. And even though they're fictional characters, you start rooting for them, you love them, you want them to succeed. Larry McMurtry just died. I reread 4 of his novels. The Last Picture Show, Dwayne's Depressed, Lonesome Dove. You get in these books, you become that character. You live where, you know, you're Augustus McCrae, you're Will, you're those guys in Lonesome Dove. You become them. You don't want that story to end. You can't. You love those characters. You're invested in those characters. The stories keep you going. Most people don't know how to write a book, and you know, you'll hear people say, "Well, I watch movies all the time. I could be a movie star. I can act. I read books all the time." No, it's not that. I would compare it to watching a magician and then going out and doing the trick. No. You saw the residue of thousands of hours. You don't know how to do the trick because the trick's designed to fool you. Writing is an incredibly hard thing to do. But if you really, really work at it and you'll keep at it and you'll keep trying, I was rejected dozens of times before I ever found a publisher. One of the most artful letters said, "I'm sure there's a great story, but you sure as hell know how to bury it." You were like, wow. I'm probably fat and ugly too, right? You know, what's the old joke? You go to a doctor and says, "You're fat. I want a second opinion. You're ugly." You know, that's how you feel. Yeah, there's a lot of rejection. There's a lot of pain. But if you don't quit and you have something to say, you'll make it. The internet's a great tool. There are thousands of agents, publishers, acquisition editors. They're looking for the next great thing. You go on the New York Times Book Review or any of them, there's always a debut author that'll knock your socks off. Wow, where did that come from? But you read the book and it's a great book, right? It's got a story and it's got characters and it's got a compelling theme and you're rooting for people. So new authors, don't quit and do not read all the negative stuff. You will not get out of bed. You will not. You know, like what do they say there? I mean, when Brad Pitt got the Academy Award, that Quentin Tarantino movie, one of the funny things in my life is I have a very good female friend that went to college all 4 years with Brad Pitt, University of Missouri, and they're both journalism majors. She's a PR expert. 6 weeks before they graduated, Brad Pitt quit. Some professor didn't like a short story he wrote. And he's in my college fraternity, Sigma Chi. I mean, I have no connection to him, but I know her. So he decides he'll drive to Hollywood and make it. So my friend says, "You're an idiot. You're going to be waiting tables for 20 years. You're never going to make it. You're going to crawl back here." Well, 2 weeks later, he got 11 seconds or 19 seconds in Thelma and Louise. He made it. Okay, your odds of being Brad Pitt are 1 in a cajillion or a cajillion cajillions. But your odds of being a good author, writing a good book that has something good, that is worth passing on and finding a publisher and an editor are 100% if you don't quit.
Yeah.
So you may not look like Brad Pitt, you may not be Josh Brolin, but you can be an author. Well, I've won 7 awards, and I didn't know I would. You're a first-time author and you're a nobody, believe me. For those of you who want to write a book and you're a first-time author and nobody, good luck. I'd say you probably have the same luck of hopping on a cork, getting in the ocean and hoping to get to Europe. You bet you're gonna kind of have to get lucky. You'd rather be lucky than good, right? Napoleon said that. When I wrote the book, I knew I had 3 or 4 things going, and I had a great publisher editor. She really helped me shape the book. Sandra Jonas, give her a lot of credit for this. But I knew I had a story that was very different from a lot of memoirs. I mean, son of an alcoholic, son of a drug dealer, even the son of prisoner ones, they're pretty much all the same. They're horrible, right? You had bad life. But mine had everything. It had murder, it had mental illness, it had Indians, it had cherry bombs, it had Washington, D.C., it had everything. And I thought, I have an incredible story. I just don't know if I'm good enough to tell it. I'm not incredible, but the story is. Just get out of the way of the story.
Yeah.
And when I was able to figure that out with the help of my editor, publisher, and get that story out, it hit several responsive chords, right? I mean, we've sold 160,000 books. It's in 13 countries. Russia just published it in Russian. I have a movie offer. If you think a nobody author first time has a hard life, try getting your book into a movie when you're nobody. But you never know, right? So the book won a bunch of nonfiction awards, some crime awards. The Western Writers of America, which I belong to, gave me a Spur Award for the best first nonfiction book. I won an International Crime Award. I'm up for 2 or 3 more awards, Chanticleer and a couple of others. And I realized it's the story. It's not me. This story's got something for everybody. And it's not a story that a lot of Americans have. It's just not. When you read, I read all the Indian books, and generally Indians, they write real spiritual books or books about, the horror of what the cavalry and the white man did to them. There's a lot of good books on that. But my book's contemporary in that this is what I saw on the reservation as I lived it. I stayed in the top on Native American for 2 years now almost. Some Native Americans written me saying, I hate you, you're not a Native American, you have no right. 90% have said, you got it exactly right. And my 3 Navajo friends I grew up with said, you got it exactly right. I wanted to make sure that they didn't feel I was off base. So I knew this book hit a bunch of things. And that if I was lucky, I had the elements in it to really make the Pale-Faced Lion to something spectacular. Did I expect this much success? No, I did not. Mm-hmm. It's been an incredible ride. It'll be 2 years on May 7th, 8th. And it's been a bestseller in child studies, crime, Native American, dysfunctional, you name it. It has done 10 times better than I ever imagined. It makes me think maybe I can write more books. I want to, but I also feel a lot of pressure because you follow up with a book like that, it better be a home run. Because there's a lot of critics out there. I've never seen anything like how vicious people can be when they don't like your book. Whoa, write it because you believe in it. Write it because you think you have something to say. Have an uplifting message. Why did you write the book? I wrote the book because you can overcome anything. You can. You may not have a perfect life, but you can have a much better life if you find a way through this stuff. I also wanted people to see how I saw what the Navajos are going through, the sadness of it. And I get a lot of letters from Navajos saying, you've explained exactly what we went through. And it always touches me that one, it's accurate, and 2, that it's accurate, because it shouldn't be that way. But it's been a fantastic ride, and it continues to go. And I've loved every minute of it. I've took 10 years really to write this book right. You've got to learn to creatively write. That's not an easy thing to do because you're entertaining people. People have to want to turn the next page all the way to the end. They have to want to root for the protagonist, the hero. They want to see something come from the life that they've read about. You're asking them to invest 20, 30 hours, or maybe $20, $30. Don't cheat them. And don't fool them. Don't trick them. I even get, why did you write so much bad stuff about yourself? Because I did a lot of bad stuff. This was not a, I'm not Superman or Jesus or Muhammad Ali. I didn't just rise above the ashes and was perfect. No, I was a mess, right? And I still probably am in some way. But I don't pretend, I don't pull any punches. From me, from what I saw, from what I did, it's an authentic book, and I'll stand by that. And, for me, it's authentic, and I got through it. That's good enough for me.
I've never written before in my life. Well, only blogs home to people when we've been on travels. And that's, a dear friend said, you've got to put this into a story. You write really well. Everyday reader can easily read it. So my advice, though, would be get a brilliant editor. Find yourself a very good editor, someone who comes highly recommended, and proofread. Proofreading is everything. An editor does that, but you also need other sharp eyes on it, fresh eyes all the time. So luckily she has what they call beta readers. So she puts it out to 6 other people. And yeah, they come back. But yeah, the editor is the best thing. My book, I was self-published, but self-published with the help of Ant Press. That's A-N-T, Ant Press. And they were absolutely brilliant all the way from me being such a naive newbie with no experience of writing. They took me right through the process with my French Platter and, right up to loading it on Amazon. And then there was guidance for afterwards as well, where I should be looking for marketing, all of that sort of thing. So they're absolutely fabulous. Ant Press, which is owned by Victoria Tweed. She's a very well-known author as well herself. She writes wonderful books.
Okay, so then she would have the experience to know what your requirements
Totally, yeah.
Personally, I would know that. Okay.
Yeah, very experienced in the publishing.